Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Swamp Gas Podcast. Interestingly enough, I am hesitant to discuss my pickups for obvious reasons. In a way, I almost think it would be better to make up a story saying that aliens abducted me. But then I wouldn't be able to provide detailed information about the reasons why they're here, how their crafts operate, or the overall purpose for their visits, amongst countless other things. I also imagine, should this podcast become popular at some point, I am going to face an enormous amount of criticism, which is the reason why I wish to remain anonymous. For the record, this podcast and work will generate absolutely no revenue. I'm not doing this to make money. I'm doing it because we have been asked to disclose this information. I can make a lot more money by investing my time in my companies, but instead I'm trying to assist the disclosure by sharing information that we have learned over countless years of these experiences. I also wish that I could tell you like some elaborate story about how these meetings occur, but the truth is it's relatively simple. The majority's first few experiences are nothing short of life-changing, but it is a very routine thing after that. I mean, we get picked up in what we call the school bus, or a 2 or 4-seater craft, and we meet up at a location to discuss basically history. I'll say technology also, but not from an engineering standpoint. We do get to do some activities, which I can share with you later, all of which are phenomenal. But the thing that I'm really excited about at this point is that I've seen people make some huge claims on YouTube, and their material is still available, which gives me some sense of comfort that whatever I post will remain for a long time, and that at some point other technologies will come out and you'll be able to listen to these episodes again and know that I wasn't making any of this up. That's giving me like extra motivation to work on this, even though I'm not a professional at doing this at all. It took me nearly 2 weeks to contact my friend Jim again. It was mainly because it was one of those things where you have your first experience with something and then start having flashbacks on things that you read or heard of in the past. And those mental connections are being made, like, oh, yeah, that's right. Like, that makes sense, right? That kind of thing. And so I started scouring the internet for other people having similar stories, only to be overwhelmed by alien abduction experiences, which probably didn't comfort me much at the time. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect moving forward, so I messaged Jim to talk about it. And I'm not going to say that he was elusive when answering questions, but he also wasn't entirely forthcoming. Come to find out, he was new at being an HRL, something that we'll discuss more in the future. But to be clear, an HRL is a human resource liaison, and that is a person who is an intermediary between an extraterrestrial and a human. So I inquired about the process and what I should expect for the next meeting, such as would it be longer, and pretty much everything else you can imagine asking after having an experience like the one I mentioned. After speaking with Jim for about a week via text message, I decided that I'll go on another adventure, as I called it. And he said, okay, I'll be in contact as soon as we have a date. I didn't hear back from him for nearly 3 weeks. And being the man I am, I didn't message him back. And in all honesty, I started questioning my sanity. The longer I sat there thinking about it, the more I wondered whether or not what I experienced was real, which is weird because I was there, but I just started feeling like somehow I was making it up. And even though I looked back at my text messages, I felt like this was some dream state or wishful thinking. With that said, I now understand how the mind can play tricks on a person after being involved in an extreme psychological event. Nevertheless, Jim contacted me again, giving me a date and location. And so you're aware, when you receive a date and location, the pickup date is a quick turnaround. Fortunately for me, pickups were extremely easy and not far away because of my location. Remember, I'm in a remote location on an island in Hawaii. Ocean pickups are always the easiest from my experience. The pickup was nearly identical to the first, except Jim wasn't there with me on the beach that time. The craft approached the same as the first time, except this time it was very long and it reminded me of a cigar, which is funny because I have heard that phrase before. The door opened up and Jim stepped out, which was a massive relief. We got in and I saw 2 rows of seats, one on each side, filled with people. And it appeared that I was the last stop because the craft was full, minus a few seats at the front. Jim and I sat down and we took off. I'm going to back up. As I boarded the craft, pretty much everybody was looking at me, probably because my jaw was wide open, or maybe because my skin was paper white. I heard some people giggle and I sat down. Immediately after I took a seat, the guy to my front left turned and looked at me and asked, is this your first time? And I said, no, second time. And he was like, no, first time with other people. And I said, oh, yeah. And he laughed and I heard other people laugh. And he said, don't worry, we've all been there. And people were like, I heard like, no, like, yeah. I'm not going to say that made me feel comfortable, but my mind immediately started spinning and I'm thinking like, I'm not the only one. And like, why didn't I know about this sooner? And why doesn't anybody talk about it? Later I found out others do talk about it. But the majority of the information is buried under a rug or swept under the carpet. I questioned whether or not it's because of like some covert conspiracy and the information is hidden from the general public. And down the rabbit hole I went. I can tell you in advance that the truth of what's going on is much more sensible and logical than you might think. The more experiences that I went on, the more I understood why things are the way that they are, all of which I will share with you in the future. For now, that's the end of this podcast. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. And, if you haven't, look at the resource section on our website, which is www.swampgas.info. You can click on resources and find other people having similar experiences in different ways. And thank you and have a great day.